Hello everyone, welcome to the video and welcome back to lockdown. If you didn't already know, Melbourne, Victoria has gone into second lockdown for about 2 weeks now, which is kind of like a second breakfast except less delicious and depressing. So not really like second breakfast at all. As you saw today, we are going to be doing another scrap fabric challenge, but this one is actually going to be really important because as of Wednesday at 11:59 p.m, we will be going into mandatory face coverings outside your home. So you must wear a mask outside of your home. And luckily, I bought this mask a couple of weeks ago because I thought it was cute and also I wanted to buy a mask. But I realized that there would be a lot of people out there who weren't as lucky as me to get their hands on one before the world goes crazy and mass purchases everything again, just like the toilet paper. If you didn't see the news, within 30 minutes of the government announcing mandatory face coverings, there were crowds outside Chemist Warehouse and Spotlight was ransacked of all its material and elastic. So I'm sitting here at home hearing all this, luckily with my little mask, and I'm like, yay, I'll be fine. And then I realized that perhaps some of my friends won't be fine. Perhaps they're just like me, they've been extremely overwhelmed and exhausted with this whole pandemic and this next stage of trying to find a mask and trying to get their hands on one within 3 days might be really stressful for them. So I reached out to a few of my friends and asked them if they wanted me to make them masks out of fabric because I have so much fabric here and I'm trying to get rid of it all by the end of the year, which hasn't really been happening. So we're gonna make some masks. I'm gonna show you how I'm going to pattern hack and clone this mask that I bought, which is a really, really good shape, really snug fit. Because my face is really small, it is a little bit big for me, but I think it'll be a good standard size for everybody. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to clone this mask so I can make any mask I want out of this. Also, you can just clone any of your clothes this way as well. Either way, let's get to it because I'm wasting time making this intro. Okay, bye-bye. Hello, welcome to the voiceover. So grab your pattern paper, I like to use wrapping paper, and then fix your white balance because your camera is whack. Then grab your item that you are wanting to clone, in my case the mask, and lay it down on your pattern paper as flat as possible so we can trace around it. I am folding mine in half because I want to cut mine on the fold. Make sure you outline each piece individually along those seam lines. To make the dart in the pattern piece, I added a little extra triangle at the top here, and where my original line was, that is where we will sew. Then making our second pattern piece, I just did more of a dot-to-dot technique because it was too hard to trace. Then cut out your pattern pieces with a blunt rotary cutter, even though you don't know how to use it well, but all the cool YouTubers use them, so that's what you're gonna do. Then throw them away because you're gonna do it all over again because I didn't like those pieces and I forgot to add a seam allowance, which is very, very, very important. You need seam allowances. This time I decided to use a ruler because I was trying to be fancy. And don't forget to add that dart line, it's very important. And then we can finally add our seam allowance of 5/8 of an inch because I like using that measurement. No other reason why. But however, this is where I did a very big mistake, and if you listened to me earlier, you may know what this mistake is, but if not, there will be a reveal soon. Then cut all your pattern pieces out and transfer your pattern pieces to your fabric. Clip them together and cut. With the rotary tool again, that doesn't really work that well, but we're gonna keep trying to use it. And then do the same for the smaller piece. Laying all my pattern pieces flat, I noticed that this edge was a bit sharp, so I decided to smooth it out, making a rounder edge on both pattern pieces using the rotary tool, which actually worked out this time. Now let's get to sewing. So I've just realized a mistake and wondered why like this piece just was so big and why this dart became like a huge dart, and it's because I added a seam allowance. I added a seam allowance on the folded edge. I even drew a little put it on the folded edge, but I added a seam. You're not meant to add a seam allowance on the folded edge because it's a part of the garment. So I'm gonna have to go fix this by just literally cutting it off. I'm gonna have to recut the pattern pieces, but hopefully I can cut this pattern piece inside this so I don't waste this fabric so much. Well, we're not sewing now, we are patterning again. Okay, so I fixed the pattern, and as you can see here, that is where the dart will go. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to sew the dart, and that's where the dart ends up. And then this is the bottom piece. Again, this bottom piece, when I cut it, came out a bit pointy, so I just rounded it off so it'll match up with this a lot better. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm going to sew it now. So to summarize or to clarify what I just said, we first sew in the dart right sides together, and then we snip it with some pinking shears so it will not fray. Snip. Then we have to pin right sides together, the front face of the mask and the bottom face of the mask, or the chin section of the mask. We then sew all along the bottom, all the way along the curved edge as far as you can go with the two pieces of fabric together, and make sure you backstitch at the start and the end because we want to make sure we have some nice secure threads. And then I hemmed the edges. The only reason I hemmed the edges on this one, only because we didn't have any reason to make a lining piece for this version, because this was just about getting the fit right. Yay! So this is the mask. I'm gonna try it on to see how the fit is. The chin section isn't going under, so it's almost like I need to put a dart here. I'm gonna compare it to mine. Let's have a look, sees. So comparing it to mine, this bottom section is a lot bigger. So I need to make this triangle smaller. It needs to be more of this shape. The dart is the same. It's just this that's too big. Because it doesn't sit on as a dramatic angle. Back to the drawing board. I decided to do some maths and some measuring using actual numbers to do the tracing of the chin pattern piece. And it worked out pretty well, and that curved edge makes so much of a difference. I added a seam allowance and cut it out, but I made sure that I did not add a seam allowance to the edge, which will be up against the fold, because we don't want to do that. There are my two pattern pieces, right sides together. They look like this with two beautiful curved edges, and so it will scrunch that bit up there. You know what I mean. Okay, moving on. So we are sewing the dart first again, and we are snipping with the pinking shears, and then sewing all along the edges as far as we can go again, backstitching a couple of times at the start and at the end, so we get a really nice secure stitch, just like we did before. Okay, we are losing light, so I really hope that this has worked. Just looking at it, this seems to be a lot more like tight. Even just hanging, there's a steeper angle here than the previous one. Oh, that's so much better. I'm so glad I redid the pattern. That is so much better, even with all the fabric here at the top. Almost immediately just like snatches. So you still got a snatched jawline, okay? Because you want a snatched jawline when you're trying to protect yourself and the world from a deadly virus. Oh, if you can't tell, I have a lot of anxiety about finishing these on time, just because people are relying on me, and it's like the first time in a really long time that people are relying on me to do anything, because I've pretty much been just like looking after myself because of all of my new mental health issues that I've been having since the start of this year. So this is stressful, but also I know it's going to be really rewarding because people are going to appreciate it. So yeah, let's keep going. So I'm going to try and describe the final construction instructions, starting with sewing the dart in the face pattern piece, and then sewing the face and the chin pattern pieces right sides together along the curved edge as far as you can go as shown before. Then you need to trim all the edges with pinking shears, or you could serge the edges off. Then pin or clip any layers that you have together so they become one layer, and then put your lining layer right sides together with all of those layers, as you can see here. I don't really know how else to describe it. Then sew along the top and bottom edges, leaving the sides open so we can flip it inside out, well, right sides in. And make sure you trim the edges before you flip it right sides in so you reduce bulk. You'll know it's flipped the right way when you cannot see any seams on the outside of the garment. Then press and top stitch down the edges if you would like, and then fold the open edges, the ones that weren't sewn initially, down twice into a little centimeter loop, and then you can use that to thread through your elastic. I don't know if that made sense, but there you have it. I just wanted to finish off this video by saying I'm not making it and putting it on the internet to prove how amazing of a friend I am, because I really haven't been that great of a friend during this time. But I did want to take this opportunity to let those people in my life know that I do really care about them. I will be transparent with you and say that I ended up making over 50 masks and ended up selling most of them, not just giving them away for free. Ultimately, I wanted to make this video to thank everyone for doing their bit and staying home and wearing a mask when you have to go outside, even if it is just for an hour a day. I know it's tough, I know it's hard, but I really, really appreciate it.